Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. If you remember our reading yesterday, the people had asked for a king. They were desiring a king to rule over them like the other nations around them. And Samuel was a bit offended by this. He had been serving the role as prophet, as priest, as judge over the people, and now they're asking for a king. And God tells him, hey, don't be offended. They're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. Well, when we get into chapter 9, in our reading today, we're introduced to this guy by the name of Saul. And when you go back and look at what his name means, it's pretty interesting. His name actually means desired or asked for. And so what we're going to find as we go through the upcoming chapters is the people get exactly what they ask for. But we'll deal with that as time goes on. But for now, we're just looking at Saul as he's introduced to us here in chapter 9. And it's interesting where we find this future king. He's actually out chasing donkeys. His dad had sent him out to find the lost donkeys. And I'm sure there was a lot of other things Saul would have preferred to do at this time than be chasing a bunch of donkeys. For one, it would have been a very tedious task. I mean, as you look at all the land that he covered looking for these donkeys, it's probably like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Just very, very difficult. But that's what he's doing, and it's out of this that he actually comes into contact with Samuel, the man of God. And not only does he meet Samuel, but he also ends up being anointed by Samuel as Israel's future king. Now, as he was going about looking at those donkeys, do you really think that he ever imagined that he would actually encounter the man of God and be anointed king? That wasn't even in his radar, I'm sure. But yet, his life was changed during that incident. And what we have here is what theologians would call a divine appointment. A divine appointment. In other words, God had orchestrated this in order to make these two guys meet. As a matter of fact, God had told Samuel the day before that he was going to encounter Saul the next day. And so this was all orchestrated by God. And so we have a divine appointment. And a divine appointment is just when God takes us to a particular place at a particular time for a particular purpose. And it could be for a lot of different reasons. It might be because he wants us to encounter a person, maybe someone who needs an encouraging word. So he orchestrates things where we meet them right at the right time. We just happen to be at the grocery store at the same time that they are, but it's an opportune time to speak to them. It could be an opportunity that arises for us where everything just works just perfectly together, and an opportunity arises for us to be able to engage in some type of activity, either for the Lord or for the benefit of our family. One instance I can think of in my life was how I ended up with the job that I have today. I won't bore you with the details, but as I go back and I think about all the things that had to take place in order for me to get the job that I have today, you just see the hand of God behind it, orchestrating it all. And I'm sure you can think of instances in your life where you had what you feel like was a divine appointment, or you just had things that just came together that brought you to that right person at the right time. Maybe your spouse, for instance. You just happen to meet them at the right time, or you just happen to have the right friends. There's a lot of different things that we could think of where we just really saw God's hand behind it, and He's the one that brought things about in that way. Now, what do we walk away with as we think about these divine appointments? Well, for one, we shouldn't get so frustrated at times when things don't go our way, because it might be God's hand. It might be God's hands behind the scene working in our lives, as it was with Saul. Think about how annoying it was for him to have to chase these donkeys through the land, but it was God behind it, bringing him to the right place, the proper place, so he could be anointed king. So, later on, I'm sure he was glad that he went out and went looking for these donkeys. For us, it might be that we lost our car keys, or Our children can't find their shoes, or our car wouldn't start. Maybe we hit all the red lights. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe God speeds things up. For some reason we have this earnest feeling in our heart that we really need to get going, and we really need to get where we're going. And it's all God behind the scenes, making sure that we get to the right place at the right time for His purpose, whatever that purpose is. So don't get annoyed if things aren't going your way. It might be God working in your life. Secondly, we need to be looking for what it is that God is working in our lives. In other words, look for these divine appointments in our lives. When we go to the grocery store, we go to work, or and we're in a particular situation. We'll be thinking, why am I here? Am I just here for groceries, or has God brought me here for a purpose? Is there someone that I need to talk to at the grocery store? Is there someone that I can share the gospel with, or give a tract to, or whatever? A lot of times we take for granted the places that we go and the times that we get there as just the way the circumstances end up. We don't really see that God is working behind it, but we need to start looking through the lens of God and try to see what He is doing in our lives, and take advantage of the opportunities as they arise and the situations as they come. So these are just some thoughts to think about. I hope they were helpful to you. I thank you guys for watching the video. I love you guys. God bless.